Hello, welcome back to one of our creative videos, and my name is Pam Hayes at Hayes Sewing Machine Company in Wilmington, Delaware, so it's good to see you back. Today we're going to focus on doing a nice simple quilt. So if you're kind of just getting back into quilting or never tried it and you want to have something simple to work with, this is the quilt for you. It is one square that you don't have to do anything with, yay. And then this one is a pieced square, and it's very simple to do. And it is done by the Villa Rosa Designs, and the pattern name is SHERYL. And it is either done with 8 fat quarters, and if you're unfamiliar with what a fat quarter is 18 by 22, or 20 10-inch squares. We got a set in that were all flowers, with the exception of a plaid in there. But all of these were just flowers. I fell in love with them. I thought, oh, they're so pretty. And they'll have kind of corresponding colors, and they all go together. So if you're not really good at picking out colors, don't worry about it. It's all done for you. And the one that I was working with was wildflowers. And again, this one has 42 pieces, so you will just pick out the 20 that you're interested in. Now, what you need to do is, if this is going to be your, these are going to be your basic squares, like what we have here, so just put those aside. You don't have to do anything with them. You are going to have to cut, though, them into, and let me see how many. You're going to cut 5. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read this. It seems so clear just a second ago. You're going to have, oh, be quiet. I do need my glasses, but shh.
It's over there. They're on the corner.
You're going to leave 15 to the side for doing the big blocks. Then you're going to take your other 5 and you're going to cut them into 5-inch squares. So basically you're going to cut them in half and cut them in half again. So we're going to line this up and cut them in the 5-inch. I'm just going to make it simple, turn my mat. And, all right, so you're going to see that we have our pieces, all right? You're going to do this for 5 squares, so 5 different colors. And then you're going to remove one. You don't need all 4 pieces. So that's what you're going to do. Now, they also have what they call the frame. So if you look up here, you'll notice frame. Okay, that's your frame fabric. On your frame fabric, you need 1.25 yards. So on this particular one, I chose the yellow. I just thought it was nice and cheery and kind of bright. So you're going to do 3-inch strips, and then you're going to cut for each block 5 inches by 3, and then the 2 that are going across the top are going to be 10 inches by 3. And that's all the math you really need to do, which is kind of nice. You don't have to do anything special. The one that I'm going to be doing is kind of what is pictured. So you're going to see that it doesn't have any borders to it. And the size that it's going to be completed is 48 by 57. So a nice lap size. But if you want it bigger, okay, either do more blocks, you can do that, or they give you borders. They give you, on the pattern, it talks about the first border and the second border. First border is going to be cut 2 inches wide, and then the second border is 6.5. So it's going to build it up pretty quickly. If you do both optional borders, it's going to be 63 by 72. So if you want something a little bit bigger, easy way to do it. All right, let's come over to the machine. And this is what we are going to have. So we have one of those squares, and then we have our two that are 10 by 3, and then two that are 5 by 3. You're going to grab your 5 by 3 first, and we're going to line this up. I'm working with a 1/4 inch foot on my machine. And if you have a top of your fabric, like it's a one-way design, you'll notice that I have chosen, to me, this is the top. The flowers look to be going that direction. The stems are down at the bottom. So you want to do the short sides first, and you want to have it on so the top is going to be away from you when you first start. All right, so we sew down. All right, flip it around, and we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. All right, well done you. At this point, I'm going to give them a press, and I'm going to press them to the 3-inch strip. So I line this up, and I'm going to give it a press. All right, so see how we want our seams to be pressing towards this. You can press them in if you want, just be consistent whatever you do. All right, so we have our bits. Now we're going to line this guy up, and we're going to sew across the top. And sorry, my thread got caught around my foot. So we're going to sew down. And then we're going to go and line up the next side. So we're just bordering it out. And ta-da! The block is done. Isn't that fast? All right, so going to go give that a press. Now, you're going to lay this out. This is probably going to take the longest part of the whole bit. And if you are doing it with friends, like I was doing with it in the store, there's a lot of opinions. I don't like that there. I like one it there. So lay it out. Basically, what you're going to do, you are going to have, it is 6 rows, and they're going to be basically 5 going across. So you're going to start out with a plain, a pieced, plain, pieced, plain, and then you'll see how you alternate them. Spend a little bit of time. Take a look to see, oh, I like this there. I tried not to get too many of the same colors together, but like I said, there's a certain point you want this to be fast, you want this to be quick, and then all of a sudden you're spending like 5 hours rearranging the blocks. Just choose something that's pleasant. You know, I don't think anybody will ever really notice too much. I have pieced the 5 rows, okay, and I have the last one here to show you. So this guy, I have done my piecing of my block, my plain, the piece block, and then I'm going to put this in the row. So we're going to stitch this, I'll tell a little story on myself here. I got so excited and this was going together so fast that I actually had to unpick some, so I had something to show you. I was like, oh, rats. So, you know, that's how it goes. Anyway, we're going to line this up. Sew along. And what's really great is when you're doing this, you don't have, in the rows, you have nothing to match, nothing to line up, other than the start and stop. Okay, and then I have my last block here. Now, the only thing that I would encourage you to do is I try to keep all of the short pieced sides. See how that's the 5-inch bit? I try to have them consistent all the way along. All right, we're going to line this up. I tend to sew from the plain side, if I can. You could throw a couple of pins in here if you want to. Whatever works for you. All right. Now, we're going to go give this a press again. Now, this is where we want to take a look. I had put pins in, I don't know if you could see those, I put pins in the rows because I couldn't find any scrap paper. So what I did is I put 1 pin in for catchily enough, row 1. 2 pins in, row 2. And then I kept going all the way down. So I have 5 pins for row 5. Now, take a look. What I did is I alternated how I pressed the seams when I was working with the rows. So in other words, row 1 I pressed towards the pin, row 2 I pressed all my seams away, and I worked my way down. That way the seams will butt nicely together. So take a look. I have the seam going towards the pins. So on this row, the last row, I'm going to be going away from the pins. And I don't actually have any pins in here because I didn't want to stab myself, but I knew when I was going to line it up that I wanted the green block to be over on this side. Why? I didn't want to have 2 green blocks together. I didn't like how it looked. Go figure. Okay, so I'm going to line this up. So I'm going to press everything towards the green. So when we line this up, I'm going to press the seam allowance towards the green. Again, that's just going to help get everything lined up. Alrighty, and there's our last row. Now we're going to take, there you go. And yes, I sew like this at home. Table can be nice and clear, and then not by the time I'm done with it. Alright, so I have my rows lined up. I'm looking for my pin again. All right, there's only so many sides. There you go. Now, you'll notice I've pressed one seam one way and one set of seams is pressed the other. So at this point, we're going to get it lined up. I tend to do it differently than my sister, who is behind the camera this morning. What I tend to do is I just tend to butt them together. But I have a 3-foot rule. If it looks good from 3 feet, I don't worry about it. If your corners weren't matched perfectly and it's going to make you twitch when every time you look at this quilt, something to help you out will be to do a quilter's tack, which means you just sew 2 or 3 stitches either side of your seam. So I've done 2 or 3 stitches before and then after, and then you can open it up and see if you have it lined up, and not too bad. All right, so I will show you how to do this again. So again, we line this up, and we're going to sew down. Just again, 2 or 3 stitches on either side. And that one is a little off. So, if you found that it's a little off, yeah, traditionally you just pull it straight out. Not so much. There you go. So we're going to line this up one more time. But you can see the advantage of doing a quilter's tack, because if you have it, oh, there's a seam there. There you go. It's amazing what happens when you put your glasses on. So when you line it up, you can see it. And I'm just going to line all of my seams up. All right. So again, we're going to do our little quilter's tack. Line it up, do it again. And line it up one more time. All right. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. All right. Honestly, ladies, at home, if I was doing it by myself, I'd be done by now. But I'm trying to set a good example. All right, so now at this point, we're just going to line this up, and we're going to stitch it down. When you come into the quilting tacks, just sew right on through. Now, if you find that when you're working with it, mine are meeting pretty good, so you'll see how they're lining up just fine. If you had one particular one that was bubbly, like it was really bubbly, up to a 1/2 inch, put that underneath where the feed dogs are. That way it'll pull it through a little bit more. And if need be, a little trick that I take from my garment construction, grab the top layer and hold on to it just a little tiny bit. That'll also help ease it in. Now, if you are 3 inches off, check your cutting. I would say there might be something wrong. You can't ease up to 3 inches without having a decorative gather. going through my quilt tack. Just make sure everything's lined up together. And I have 2 more blocks to do here. Let me just get this lined up. But doing the quilt tacks does save you some time, so if you don't get your corners quite lined up the way you had in mind, it does save you from having to pick out the entire bit. All right, and we are done. Just have to give it a press, but at this point, we are good to go.
Beautiful.
And that's a pretty nice summer quilt. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.